What is up guys, it's Andreas. In this video you'll be learning about 7 important filtering operators from RxSwift that you must know about. As the name implies, these kind of operators allow you to filter out data emitted by observables in various ways so that you only pass through the elements that you want your subscribers to receive. Essentially, these operators are conditional constraints to the next event. The only thing that you won't be able to filter out are stop events, so in other words, completed and error events. But without further ado, let's just get right into the list. The first operator on this list is filter operator. Try and take a look at this marble diagram. The upper line represents a stream of data emitted by an observable, while the lower line represents the elements received by the subscribers. The way it works is that the filter operator takes a predicate as a parameter, and this predicate acts like a conditional constraint that must be satisfied by each of the elements emitted by an observable. This way, the predicate is applied to all elements and determines if each of them are allowed through to the subscribers or not. In this case, filter will only allow through elements with values greater than 10. These will reach the next operator while the rest of the elements are simply dropped. Now that you have an understanding of the operator, let's take a look at some code.
First off, we will create our dispose bag. Afterwards, we will create our observable from the data. Then we apply our filter operator that says that all albums that don't have sales above 30 million should be excluded. And lastly, we subscribe to the next event. And as expected, we see albums with sales above 30 million.
Next up, we have the skipping operators. Although these are different from one another, they all serve the purpose of skipping data at some point or another. There are a lot of variations of the skipping operators, but I will look into the two most commonly used operators, the skip and the skip while. First up, we have the skip operator. With the skip operator, you pass through a number of elements to ignore as parameter, and all elements that come before this number that you specify are simply dropped. All elements that come after are then allowed through to the subscribers. Next up, we have the skip while operator. With this operator, you pass through a predicate as a parameter, and as long as this predicate evaluates to true, the incoming elements are ignored. But when it evaluates to false, all elements that come after will be allowed through.
Let's simply continue from our previous example and replace the filter operator with the skip operator. In this case, we will skip the first 3 elements, and we see from the output that the first 3 albums are skipped. Now we will go ahead and replace the skip operator with the skip while operator. In this case, we will skip albums as long as they are above 30 million sales. And we see from our output that it matches the particular filter.
Next, we have the taking operators, and these are kind of opposites to the skipping operators. The skipping operators will exclude elements based on a condition, but the taking operators will instead include elements in the ways you specify. First we have the take operator, and with the take operator you can specify a number of elements to allow through, and all elements that come after this number are simply ignored. Next up we have the take while operator, and it's very much the opposite of the skip while operator. With the take while operator you pass through a predicate, and as long as it evaluates to true, all elements are allowed through, but when it evaluates to false, the elements will be ignored.
Once again we will use the previous example and now replace the skip while operator with the take operator. In this case we will take the first 3 elements, and we see from the output that the first 3 albums are listed. Now we will use the take while operator. And use the condition that sales must be above 30 million. And we see from the output that albums with sales above 30 million are listed.
Now let's look at the element add operator, and this operator allows you to filter out next events except the one that you specify at a certain index. Let's take a look at this in code.
Now we will use the element add operator to take the 5th element from the data, and now we see that we get the 5th element.
Last but not least we have the ignore elements operator. As you can see from this marble diagram, all it does is that it ignores all next event elements. There isn't much more to it than that. The only thing that's allowed through are basically the stop events, as with all other filtering operators. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. If you liked the video, give it a like, and if you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button. And I'll see you in the next one.